The alien mansion stood tall and shining, its walls glowing with silver light. The rooms were filled with treasures, rare crystals, golden carvings, and soft lights that never went out. The air smelled of flowers from faraway planets. Everything showed wealth, power, and high status. Yet despite all the beauty, the mansion was quiet. Too quiet. The lady of the house, a rich alien mother, walked slowly through the endless hallways. Her steps echoed, but no laughter, no music, and no joy followed her. She had everything one could buy, but not the one thing she wanted most: her daughter's smile. Her daughter had been born with legs that refused to move. No strength, no steps. Her body was alive, but her lower half was still. The girl stayed in her room, a place full of soft cushions, warm blankets, and toys she never touched. The mother often sat beside her, brushing the child's hair, whispering promises. "One day you will walk, my little star." Yet inside, her heart broke. For years she had brought healers from across the galaxy. She had paid fortunes, begged, and even threatened, but none had cured the child. Each time her hope was destroyed a little more. The servants of the mansion walked carefully, afraid to speak too loud. They pitied the mother, but also feared her temper. They knew her pain. They had seen her cry when she thought no one was looking. They had seen her press her forehead to the cold walls, asking the stars why her wealth was useless. The silence of the mansion was heavier than gold. On one such day, when the sky outside was purple and glowing, a stranger came to the gates. He was human, tall but simple, dressed in plain clothes. He carried no glowing tools, no strange medicines, only a small bag on his shoulder. The guards laughed when he asked for the rich mother. They told him she had no need for beggars, but his eyes were calm, steady, and he said softly, "I am not here to beg. I am here to help your daughter walk." The words struck like thunder. The guards stopped laughing. They looked at one another, uncertain. One of them ran inside. Soon the news reached the mother. She froze when she heard it. For a moment her heart jumped, but then pride and anger filled her face. "Another fool," she whispered. Still, a part of her wanted to see, a part of her that could never die. She ordered the human to be brought before her. The grand hall was bright with golden lamps when he entered. The mother sat on her high seat, her face sharp and cold. The servants lined the walls, watching with curious eyes. The human bowed, not low like a slave, but with respect. His voice was steady as he repeated his words. "I can help your daughter walk." The mother's lips trembled between a laugh and a sob. "Do you know how many healers I have called human? Do you know how much I have spent? And you arrive here with nothing, no machines, no tools, no glowing stones. You dare promise what the galaxy's best minds could not do?" Her voice grew louder, shaking the walls. "Why should I trust you?" The human's eyes did not waver. His voice was calm, almost gentle. "Because I will not ask for your gold. I will only ask for time, and for you to believe, just one chance." The hall went silent. Every servant leaned closer. The mother clenched her hands. Her heart was torn. She wanted to scream and throw him out, but deep inside, a tiny spark of hope was fighting, a spark she had buried long ago. She stared at the man, searching for lies, but found none. Her daughter, listening from behind the curtain of the hall, whispered, "Mother, please, let him try." Her voice was soft but clear. The mother's chest shook. She looked at her child, then at the human, and in that silence, her disbelief and her hope clashed like storms. The mansion remained silent, but this silence was no longer empty. It was the silence of something about to change, the silence before the first crack in the wall of despair, the silence before a miracle. The air in the golden hall grew heavy. The mother's sharp eyes stayed locked on the human. The servants held their breath, waiting for her answer. She had faced liars before, smooth-tongued healers who promised stars and gave nothing. But this man was different. He looked plain, he carried no treasure, yet his voice was steady. "Speak then." The mother said at last. Her voice was cold, but her heart raced. "Tell me, human, what power do you carry that makes you so bold?" The man took a slow breath. His hands were calm, his eyes gentle. "I do not carry power," he said. "I carry knowledge. And knowledge can heal what wealth and machines cannot," the servants whispered among themselves. Their voices were low but restless. Some mocked him, saying he was a fool. Others leaned closer, afraid but curious. A human daring to speak like this in the house of one of the richest alien women in the city was madness. The mother let out a bitter laugh. "Knowledge? Do you think I have not gathered knowledge? I have brought doctors from across the stars. I have paid for treatments that cost more than whole nations, and all of them failed. Do you think your simple words can replace them?" Her voice broke. She tried to hide it, but the pain inside her chest bled into every sound. The human did not flinch. He stepped forward, not too close, but enough that his presence was stronger. "Your healers treated your daughter like a patient. I will treat her like a person. They looked at her body as a broken machine. I will see her spirit first, and spirit is stronger than flesh." The hall shook with silence again. The servants froze, their eyes widened, for no one had ever spoken to their mistress like this. The mother's lips parted, her sharp pride clashing with the sudden pull of his words. Behind the curtain, the little girl's eyes grew wide. Her heart raced. She had been treated like a delicate statue her whole life, wrapped in soft blankets and hidden from the world. But this human, he spoke of her spirit as if she was more than her weak legs, more than her mother's sorrow. "Do you dare insult my people's healers?" The mother whispered. Her voice was low, dangerous, but inside her chest a storm raged. Her pride wanted to strike him down, yet a flicker of hope pressed against her walls. "I dare speak truth," the human said calmly. "Your daughter does not need pity. She needs strength. She does not need gold walls around her. She needs a chance to feel the ground beneath her feet. Give me that chance, and I will not fail her." The mother's breath caught. His words hit her like fire. She stared at him, searching for any sign of lies. But his eyes were unshaken. His voice carried no greed, no hunger for wealth, only certainty. Her daughter could not stay silent. From behind the curtain she called, "Mother, please." The child's voice trembled, but it held a light of hope. "Let him try." The hall gasped. The servants turned their heads. The child had rarely spoken in public. Her voice was weak but clear. The mother's heart shattered. For years she had seen her daughter's eyes full of sadness, empty of joy. But now those same eyes glowed with something new, something dangerous hope. The mother turned to the human again, her face pale, her lips trembling. "If you fail," she whispered, "if you hurt her, I will destroy you. No gold will save you. No law will protect you. Do you still accept?" The human nodded without hesitation. "I accept," he said simply. His voice did not shake. The servants whispered louder now. Some said he was brave. Others said he was a fool walking to his own death. But all of them could not look away. Something unseen was beginning. Something the walls of this mansion had never felt before. The mother rose from her golden seat. Her steps echoed across the shining floor. She walked closer, her shadow long and heavy. She looked down at the human with eyes full of fire and tears. Then she turned and gave her command. "Take him to her chamber." The girl's heart leapt. The servants bowed quickly, though fear painted their faces. They could not believe it. The richest woman in the city, a lady of power and pride, had allowed a human, a stranger, into the most sacred part of her life. The human followed without fear. His plain steps echoed as strong as the mother's golden shoes. Behind him, the hall trembled with whispers, but none could deny it. Something had broken the mansion's silence, the claim of a single human. The mother walked beside her daughter's chamber door. Her hand hovered above the golden handle. Her heart raced like it had not in years. She whispered to herself, "Foolish hope or a true miracle." She opened the door, and the silence of the mansion seemed to breathe. For the first time in many years, the silence felt alive. The child's chamber was wide and soft, with tall windows covered in silk curtains. The light from the twin moons outside spilled across the floor, making the golden patterns on the walls glow. The bed was carved from crystal. The cushions were soft as clouds. Every corner spoke of wealth. Yet to the girl it was only a prison. For years, she had watched the world from that bed, unable to step into it. When the human entered, the servants followed, carrying trays of fruit and glowing drinks, not for him, but to watch him fail. They whispered to each other, hiding their smiles. He will do nothing. He has no machines. He is only a man. The girl sat up slowly, her silver hair shining under the moonlight. Her legs were covered with a blanket. Her hands clutched the edges tightly. Her large eyes followed the human, searching his face. He did not look at her, like the healers had. They had always stared at her legs with pity or disgust. But this man looked straight into her eyes. "Do not be afraid," he said gently. His voice was calm, warm. "We will begin slowly. Nothing here will hurt you." The mother stood near the door, her arms crossed, her eyes sharp. She wanted to call this madness, yet she could not stop watching. Every breath of the human carried a strange certainty. The human placed his small bag on the table. The servants leaned forward to see what treasures he carried. They frowned when they saw only simple cloth, rope, and small wooden sticks. Nothing glowed, nothing hummed, no alien device. Just things so plain they looked worthless. "Is this a joke?" one servant whispered. Another laughed quietly. The mother's eyes narrowed, but she said nothing. The human knelt beside the girl. He gently placed his hand on her ankle. His touch was careful, as if he feared breaking something fragile. "Can you feel this?" he asked softly. The girl nodded. "Yes, but weak, like a whisper." "Good," he replied. "That whisper is enough. We will make it louder." He showed her a simple movement, lifting her leg just an inch. His hand supported her the whole time. "We will do this every day, again and again. Your body has forgotten, but we will teach it to remember." The girl's eyes widened. She felt a strange warmth spreading through her leg. For the first time, it did not feel completely dead. She gasped softly. "Mother, I felt it." The mother's heart skipped. Her lips trembled, but she forced herself to stay cold. "It is nothing, a trick of the mind," she whispered. Yet her hands shook at her side. The human continued. He guided her through more movements, each small, each repeated. His voice was steady, speaking words of encouragement. "You are strong. Do not let your body tell you lies. Your spirit is greater." The servants exchanged nervous looks. Some still laughed under their breath, but others watched in silence. Something about the girl's face unsettled them. For years she had been pale, distant, but now her cheeks glowed faintly, her eyes sparkled with life. Hours passed, the girl sweated. Her breaths came heavy. The mother almost told him to stop, afraid the strain would harm her. But the human shook his head gently. "She is not breaking," he said. "She is awakening." Then came the moment that froze the room. The girl moved her toe. It was small, just a twitch, but clear as the moons outside. The servants gasped. One dropped the tray he was holding. The mother's hand flew to her mouth. Her eyes widened in disbelief. The girl looked down at her own foot, tears filling her eyes. "Mother, did you see? I moved it." The mother's heart broke and healed at the same time. Her knees weakened. For years she had prayed for even the smallest sign, and now it was here. Her voice cracked. "I saw, my star. I saw." The human did not smile proudly. He only nodded. "It begins. This is only the first spark. If she works, if she believes, the fire will grow." The servants fell silent. Their mocking was gone. They had witnessed what no alien doctor had achieved. The mother's mind swirled with fear and wonder. She wanted to ask 1,000 questions, but none left her lips. She only stared at the human, trying to understand how such simple actions could bring hope. The girl clutched her mother's hand, her tears falling. "I can do it, Mother. I will walk. I know it." The mother hugged her tightly. Her cold pride melted for a moment. "Yes, my star. Yes," she whispered. But her eyes kept moving to the human, searching, questioning, fearing. In that room under the silver light, the mansion's silence cracked again. This time it was not empty silence. It was the silence after a miracle, the silence of hearts beating louder than words. The mansion was quiet again, but it was no longer the same silence. The walls had heard something new, a whisper of hope. The servants carried the story in hushed voices, telling each other that the girl had moved her toe. Some doubted, some believed, but none could forget what they had seen. The mother spent the evening in her daughter's chamber. She sat close, brushing the child's hair while her thoughts battled inside. Her heart wanted to burst with joy, but her mind warned her it could vanish like smoke. She had been disappointed too many times before, yet her daughter's shining eyes, full of life for the first time, made it hard to keep her walls high. When night came, the servants left the chamber. The human remained sitting quietly on the floor beside the girl's bed, his eyes closed, his breathing steady. He looked more like a guardian than a healer. The mother studied him from the corner, wondering who he really was, a man with no wealth, no glowing machines, no strange medicines, yet he had changed what the galaxy's richest healers could not. The girl tossed under her blanket, her hands trembling. "Mother," she whispered. "Something is happening." The mother rushed to her side, fear flashing in her chest. She thought the child might be in pain, but then she saw her daughter's face glowing with tears. "My toes, they are moving again, stronger than before," the girl cried. The mother's breath caught. She knelt on the floor, clutching her daughter's hands. Her eyes dropped to the blanket, and she saw it. Tiny movements, the fabric twitching with life. The child sobbed, but it was not sadness. It was disbelief, joy, and fear all tangled together. The human opened his eyes slowly. His voice was calm but firm. "Do not fear the pain. It means her body is awakening. It means her spirit is reaching down to call her legs back to life." The girl wept louder, trembling. Her whole body shook with the effort. She pressed her face against her mother's chest. "I can feel them, mother, I can feel them." The mother's arms wrapped around her child. Her tears spilled freely. She had held them back for years, trying to be strong, trying to keep her pride. But now, the walls broke. She pressed her forehead to her daughter's hair, whispering again and again, "Yes, my star. Yes, I see it, I feel it too." The servants outside the door heard the cries. They whispered nervously. Some thought the child was suffering. Others said it was the sound of rebirth. None dared to enter. The mansion trembled with the sound of tears, but for once they were not tears of sorrow. The human stood slowly, his shadow stretching across the room in the moonlight. He did not speak. He let the mother and child hold each other. He only watched, his eyes deep with quiet understanding. He had seen such nights before, in other places, with other broken bodies. He knew the first steps of healing were always marked by tears. The girl's breathing slowed. Her sobs softened into small hiccups. Her body, exhausted from the strange awakening, finally calmed. She lay back on the cushions, her face, wet but smiling, a smile the mother had almost forgotten. "You will walk," the human said softly, his voice steady. "Not in one day, not in one night, but it will come. The fire has begun and no one can put it out now." The mother turned her tear-stained face toward him. Her lips trembled. She wanted to thank him, to curse him, to demand answers, but all she could do was nod. Her pride was shattered, but she did not care. For the first time she had seen hope with her own eyes. That night the mansion did not sleep. The mother stayed awake beside her daughter. The servants whispered. In the kitchens, the guards at the gates looked at the glowing windows and wondered. Even the walls seemed to listen, carrying the sound of a miracle. As the moons moved across the sky, the mother found herself whispering prayers she had long abandoned. Her hands never left her daughter's. She wept silently, but her tears no longer tasted like despair. They tasted like something she had almost forgotten. Faith. And when dawn finally touched the golden roof of the mansion, the silence inside was forever changed. It was no longer a silence of sorrow. It was the silence, after a storm of tears, a silence filled with the heartbeat of new beginnings. The morning light poured into the mansion like golden fire. The walls sparkled, the floors glowed, but nothing shined brighter than the hope in the little girl's eyes. She woke with energy she had never felt before. Her mother sat beside her, bed. Her face pale from a sleepless night, but her eyes alive. She had not let go of her daughter's hand, not even once. The human entered quietly, carrying the same plain bag that had seemed so foolish the day before. The servants followed, whispering, their eyes wide. They wanted to see if the miracle from last night had been real or only a dream. The girl sat up, her silver hair falling over her shoulders. She looked at the human with trembling lips. "Will I try again today?" she asked. Her voice was shaky, but her eyes were glowing with determination. The human nodded. "Today we go a little further," he said, his voice calm, unshaken. He looked at the mother, who still stared at him with a mix of disbelief and fear. But she must trust herself, not just me. The mother's chest tightened. She wanted to scream that her daughter was too fragile, but when she looked at her child's hopeful face, she swallowed her words. "Do what you must," she whispered. The human placed a chair in the center of the room. He carefully lifted the girl into it. Her body trembled, unused to such movement, but she clung to his hand. The servants gasped as her feet touched the floor, thin and weak yet alive. "Hold on to me," the human said. He placed his arm around her, steady but gentle. "We will stand, not for long, only a breath, but you will stand." The girl's heart raced. Her hands clutched his arm tightly. Her mother pressed her palms together, praying without sound. The servants leaned forward, eyes wide. The human counted softly. 1, 2, 3. And then he lifted her, guiding her weight. Her legs shook like thin branches in a storm, but they held. For the first time in her life, she stood. A cry escaped her lips, half fear, half joy. Her body trembled, sweat beading on her forehead, but she was not falling. She was standing. The mother gasped loudly. Her knees buckled. She stumbled forward and covered her mouth, tears already streaming. "She is standing," she whispered. "By the stars, she is standing." The girl's voice cracked with tears. "Mother, look at me. I'm not on the bed. I'm not lying down. I'm standing." The human's voice was steady, holding her like a pillar. "Now one step, only one. Do not fear, I am here." The room froze. Every servant stopped breathing. The mother pressed her hand to her chest, her heart pounding like thunder. The girl's toes curled against the floor. Her leg moved slowly, painfully, but it moved. Her foot lifted, just a little, and then touched the ground in front of her. It was shaky. It was clumsy, but it was a step. The silence shattered. The servants gasped aloud, some crying, some falling to their knees. The mother screamed, her voice breaking with joy. She ran forward, but stopped, afraid to disturb the moment. Her tears fell like rain. "My star, you did it, you walked." The girl collapsed back into the human's arms, exhausted but smiling through her tears. "I walked, mother. I truly walked." The mother fell to the floor, her hands pressed to the ground. She bowed her head, sobbing uncontrollably. All her riches, all her pride, none of it mattered. Only this moment, this miracle. Her daughter had taken a step. The human held the child carefully, lowering her back into the chair. His voice was calm, almost humble. "This is only the beginning. Every day, more steps will come, until she walks across this room on her own." The servants whispered, their fear turning into awe. They looked at the human not as a fool anymore, but as something beyond their understanding. One servant bowed his head, whispering, "Not a man, a miracle." The mother crawled to her daughter's side. She held the girl tightly, kissing her hair. "You are my pride, my light, my star. I have waited my whole life for this." She turned her tear-streaked face to the human, words trembling on her lips, but none strong enough to match the storm in her heart. The girl leaned against her mother, smiling despite her exhaustion. "I will walk again tomorrow, and the day after I will not stop," she whispered. The human placed his hand on her shoulder, steady. "And I will be here until you do." The chamber glowed with morning light, but inside it was brighter than any sun. For the first time in memory, the mansion was filled not with silence but with the sound of life, joy, and hope. The mansion did not feel the same anymore. The walls that once echoed only with emptiness now carried the memory of a single step. Servants still whispered about it in the halls. Some cried quietly when they thought no one was watching. Others knelt in prayer. For them it was not only the girl's step, it was proof that miracles could happen even in places of sorrow. The mother, however, was not at peace. She walked the corridors that night with her heart burning. She could not erase the image of her daughter's foot touching the floor. She had dreamed of it too many times. Now that it had happened, she felt both joy and fear. Joy because her daughter had lived what no healer could give. Fear because she wondered what price would come for such a miracle. She found herself standing outside the human's chamber. The guards had offered him a smaller room, plain compared to the golden halls, but he had not complained. He had slept on a simple bed with a wooden frame. The door was half open. A faint light spilled into the corridor. The mother hesitated. Her pride told her to turn away, but her heart pulled her inside. The human sat on the floor, his back against the wall. He was writing in a small book. His face was calm, his eyes tired but steady. When he saw her, he did not rise in panic or bow deeply. He only looked up with respect and said, "You should rest. Tomorrow your daughter will need you strong." The mother stepped into the room, her long dress whispering against the floor. She closed the door behind her. Her voice shook. "Rest is far from me tonight." She walked closer, her hands trembling. "You have done what no one could do. I should be grateful, but instead I feel broken." The human set the book aside. He waited, silent. His eyes invited her to speak more. The mother's breath came heavy. She pressed her hand against her chest. "Do you know how much I spent? Do you know how many stars I traveled? I begged kings. I bribed healers. I gave fortunes that could have fed nations, and none of it brought me even one step. Yet you—" Her voice cracked, tears welling in her eyes. "You come with nothing but rope and wood, and you give me what the galaxy could not." Her tears fell. She tried to wipe them, but they only flowed faster. "All my wealth was useless. All my pride was empty. I am the richest mother in the city, but I could not save my own child. I was powerless. I was nothing." The human's voice was steady, gentle but firm. "You were not nothing. You gave her life. You gave her love. Without you, she would not have waited for me. She would not have survived long enough to stand. Do not call yourself nothing. You are her strength." The mother shook her head, her hair falling across her face. "No, her strength came from you. You believed when I had stopped. You saw hope when I was blind." She dropped to her knees in front of him, shocking herself, shocking the guards outside who might have heard the sound. "Tell me, human, why do you do this? You asked for no gold, no power, no name. Why carry my burden?" The human looked at her, his eyes calm but deep. "Because I know what it means to be broken, and I know what it means when someone believes in you. I was saved once, now I save others." His words were simple, but they struck her heart harder than any blade. The mother bowed her head, her tears dripping onto the floor. For the first time in years, she allowed herself to cry without hiding. Her pride shattered completely. She whispered in a trembling voice, "I owe you more than I can ever repay. If you asked for my fortune, I would give it. If you asked for my life, I would give it. You have returned my daughter to me." The human reached out, not to take gold or promises, but to gently lift her chin, his voice soft but firm. "I ask for nothing but this. Stand by her. Never let her lose hope. If you do that, she will walk across your halls without me. That will be my reward." The mother's lips trembled. She wanted to argue, but instead she nodded. A deep cry broke from her chest. She pressed her forehead against her hands and whispered, "Then I will give her all I am. I will not fail her again." That night, the mansion saw something it had never seen before. The richest woman in the city, once untouchable, once proud, knelt on the floor of a simple human's room, confessing her weakness and giving up her pride. And in that silence, something greater than gold was born. Trust. Morning broke with a sky of burning gold. The light poured through the mansion's tall windows, filling every corner with warmth. The servants gathered quietly in the halls, waiting. Their whispers carried a single thought. Today, she will walk again. The girl sat on her bed, her hands clutching the edge of the blanket. Her silver hair glowed in the sunlight. Her heart raced. Her body trembled. But her eyes were full of fire. She was not the fragile child of yesterday. She was a warrior in her own way. She wanted to prove that her spirit was stronger than her weakness. Her mother stood beside her, her eyes swollen from tears but filled with pride. She had not slept, but she did not care. She held her daughter's hands tightly, whispering, "You are my star. No matter what happens, I am here." The human entered the chamber, his plain bag slung over his shoulder, his face calm, his steps steady. He looked at the girl and nodded. "Today we try more than a step." His voice carried no doubt, only quiet strength. The servants filled the room's corners, silent but eager. Even the guard slipped inside, unable to resist. The mansion had become more than a palace of riches. It had become the stage for a miracle. The human placed 2 chairs across the room, far apart. "We will cross this space," he said. "It will not be easy, you will fall, but you will rise, one step at a time, until you reach the other side." The girl's lips trembled. She looked at the floor. The distance seemed endless. But when she lifted her gaze to her mother's tearful face, she nodded. "I will try." The human lifted her gently from the bed, his arms steady, guiding her to stand. Her legs shook, her body swayed, but she found her balance. The servants gasped softly. Her mother pressed her hands together as if in prayer. The girl clung to the human's arm at first, her breath shallow. Then slowly, she let go. Her knees bent. Her feet pressed against the floor. One shaky step, then another. She stumbled, but the human caught her each time, never letting her fall. "Do not fear the ground," he told her. "The ground is your friend. It will hold you. Trust it." Her breaths came harder. Sweat glistened on her face, but she pushed forward. Her body was weak, but her spirit blazed. Step after step, she crossed the golden floor. The servants began to whisper prayers. Some even wept. Halfway through, she stumbled. Again, her knees bent and she almost fell. But before the human could catch her, her mother rushed forward. She wrapped her arms around her daughter, holding her upright. Tears streamed down her face. "I have you, my star. I will always have you." The girl leaned on her mother, but she did not stop. She lifted her foot again, forcing her body forward. "I can do it, mother, I can do it," she whispered, her voice shaking but full of fire. Step by step, she reached the final chair, her small hands pressed against it. Her chest heaved with exhaustion, but her face glowed with joy. She had done it. She had walked across the room. The chamber erupted. Servants clapped their hands, some fell to their knees crying. The guard shouted in awe. The sound of joy filled the mansion, louder than gold, louder than sorrow. The mother fell to the floor, sobbing uncontrollably. She pressed her head to her daughter's waist, whispering again and again, "You walked, my star, you truly walked. I never thought I would see this day." The human stood quietly, his arms folded, watching, his face calm, but in his eyes there was a deep warmth. He did not speak. He let. The moment belonged to the mother and child. The girl leaned down, wrapping her arms around her mother. "I told you, mother, I would walk. I will walk every day now, until I can run." The mother lifted her tear-streaked face to the human, her lips trembling. "You have given me back my daughter. I have no gift, no fortune that can equal this. But know this, you will never be forgotten. Not in this house, not in this heart." The human bowed his head slightly, his voice soft. "I ask for nothing. Your daughter is my reward. Her steps are more than enough." The mother pressed her hand to her heart, her tears falling freely. She turned to her daughter, who now stood on her own, weak but steady. "You are my light, my reason, and I will never doubt again." The girl lifted her chin, her silver hair shining in the morning sun. She smiled, her eyes blazing with life. She had been a prisoner in her own body, but now she was free. The mansion's silence was gone forever. In its place, the sound of hope, of tears, of laughter, of a child's footsteps. The walk into light had begun, and nothing would ever be the same.